Hello there, guys and ghouls. This is Paranormal Investigation Stories number 20. We finally reached the magic number 20. This investigation was undertaken by myself, Ben Hartcastle and Carrie Harrison, who jointly were the founder members of Out of the Dark Paranormal. This investigation was undertaken at Penrhos Coastal Park, which is on the beautiful island of Ynys Cubi, Holy Island, which is actually separated from Ynys Mon, Anglesey, by a road bridge. Penrhos Coastal Park is a very, very interesting area. Again, an area of outstanding natural beauty. On a warm summer's day, you could be anywhere in the Caribbean. The scenery is so beautiful, and the sea is just so clean. It's something which has always amazed me, how clean the water is around the island. On entering the park, you walk past a monument, which is a monument to a young lad who was from that area, Holyhead, who actually died in the Falklands conflict back in the mists of time. Another unnecessary death in another unnecessary war created by Margaret Thatcher at the time, and of course the Argentinians who had tried to regain this particular place from us. On passing the monument, you walk into a huge wooded area which I believe is around 40-50 acres of woodland. And as you walk along the pathways between, you enter one of the possibly the most eerie places on the island. And it's just a small area. As you're walking towards it, you instantly see a large white owl which has been carved from stone, which, to be honest, is quite freaky enough in itself in the semi-darkness. But on reaching where this owl stands, there is a pet cemetery where there are literally dozens and dozens of graves of people's well-loved pets. There's one called Polly Crocodile, which was a parrot, Bengo, the dog. Just so many different names of good and faithful companions who have passed into the netherworld, the spirit world beyond. And on an evening in the semi-darkness again, it is quite an eerie feeling just to be around all those pet graves. And also it's a lovely place to be and shows just how much love we have as human beings for our animals. On entering that particular part, if you turn right, it leads up to an observatory for bird watchers, but if you turn left, it leads you deeper into the woodlands. And as you walk through these woodlands, it is alleged that there is the ghost of a white lady. And I believe the lady is called Mary. And she has been seen on many occasions wandering the pathways, as this was a part of the island where she took her own life. She was found hanging from a tree, and many people say that they have witnessed her along the way. On pushing through more paths where it became more densely wooded area, we came across a building with like a conical turret at the top. We could climb up the wall and see through, and it was quite derelict. And a bit further on there was like a huge, what would have been a fountain at one point. And just beyond the fountain was a walled garden. And within that walled garden was the base of what used to be a church. And around the area where this fountain was, we took several photographs, and we picked up some quite ethereal images. One in particular, and we really had to concentrate and study on this particular picture for hours and hours, because it just looked as though on the kind of top of the fountain there was a man with his head in his hands like that, staring directly at the camera. And it was so clear, so very clear. But what we still don't know to this day 100% what that figure was. We've put it down to pareidolia, shapes in the leaves of the trees, our imaginations. But again, when you look at the picture, there is a clear image of a man who looks to be in this kind of position. We walk through the doorway in the stone wall into the area where the church was. And again in there we took plenty of photographs, and we picked up orbs again. And I do believe that we also picked up images of elemental spirits, earth spirits, as they seem to be all around us, particularly in the air, the sylphs. After passing through where the church used to stand, we came to the ruins of another older building, and unfortunately it was impossible to get in because of bars on the windows, etc., etc. And it seemed such a shame that such a beautiful old building had fallen into disrepair. Again, we took plenty of photographs, not much evidence. We took some EVP recordings, and the EVP recordings produced nothing at all. We tried quite a lot with a night vision camera, and really we didn't experience anything of what we would class a paranormal nature. And Ben, I believe it was Ben, or it may have been Carrie, looked on the phone, and on one of the Google sites we found out that the house used to belong to the Stanley family, who had been in there from, goodness knows, 1796 to whenever. And apparently, and I think his name was Jonathan Stanley, he was somehow involved with the Bull Kelly family, who own quite a large part of the island of Anglesey itself, and have a hotel named after them, which they owned at one time in Beaumaris, which is where Queen Elizabeth II stays when she visits the island. Anyhow, this particular Stanley had two sons, and I cannot remember their names, but they were sent out in the war on a ship. They had joined the Navy, and I seem to believe that their sons were twins, and they were torpedoed and they died during the war, which of course was very sad for the family and very sad for the old Mr. Stanley, who by that time I believe did live alone. He had either divorced his wife or she had passed away. And from the death of his sons, he just kind of lost the will to live. And he allowed the house to fall into disrepair and neglect. And it continued to rot around him right up until the point of his death. At which point, I think it was the Abercrombie family took over and refurbished the place, only to let it fall into disrepair again at a later date. Then the area was bought by Anglesey Aluminium Company, who employed quite a lot of people on the island, and part of their deal for allowing to open a factory was to help create this wonderful nature park at Penrhos, which they did. They were true to their word, and they made an absolutely wonderful job of it. Sadly, the aluminium company closed, creating a lot more redundancy, but their legacy is the beautiful Penrhos Coastal Park. And if any one of you have been, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's a stunning place to be. Really relaxing. Just a beautiful place to walk around. Hopefully it will remain that way for many, many more years to come. There have been rumours that they were going to turn the area into a centre parks, which would be an absolute travesty. It needs to be left identical just as it is. Carrie, Ben and I were quite happy with the investigation that we'd done. We still were pondering over this figure that we had seen in the statue, in the monument, which was a fountain. That was one of the strangest pieces we saw. The orbs were always very interesting, but we never actually understood, as I have said before, whether it was moisture, insects, camera refraction, etc., or if it was actually sentient energy. I do have a very interesting photo of Carrie from that investigation, where she is completely transparent. And I didn't know that you could kind of create a double exposure with a digital camera. If anyone knows that you can, then please let me know. But I always thought the digital camera just took the image as it was. And it was quite strange, because she was walking past, but as she was walking past, the background was clear straight through her body. We got back in the car and we returned to Triada Bay Bungalows again. Shout out Triada Bay Bungalows. Great place to go, great place to stay. And if you get the chance, go www.triadaholidybungalows.net. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. It's a very beautiful area. On return to the bungalow, we sat and chilled out. We talked about what we'd experienced. We looked through the photos and any of the filming we'd done, and we were quite happy. And it was nice to have found this new old building, if you like, within the grounds of Penrhos. And we sat and we planned our next investigation, which was a pub much nearer to home in Heckmondwike called the Queen's. And that will be Paranormal Investigation number 21. Thank you all again for listening. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click like if you like it, hit the bell to get further notifications, and please leave a comment to say whether you like it or you don't. No offence will be taken. Thank you all again. Namaste.